Greetings, Homo sapiens, and welcome to my living room. I know it's been a while since I made videos, and this isn't a video like I normally make, but this is a tutorial on how to make this pillow, which is a pretty sweet pillow, puzzle piece pillow, and if you make 4 of them, or if you make 4 of these exact ones, it makes a square. And if you make 9 of 4 different ones, it makes an even bigger square. And now, here are some beauty shots of a set of 9 that I made for my nephew for Christmas. So in this video, I am going to show you how to draft this pattern and do all the sewing for it. It's not a very difficult pattern, and only simple sewing skills are required. What you will need for it is fleece or flannel or quilter's cotton or some sort of fabric. You could use any type of fabric you want. You need quite a bit of it. You need more than you think you need, because sadly the puzzle pieces do not fit together and you do waste some fabric. Actually a 1/2 inch difference on the pattern between the outie and the innie. So is the technical term for them, I guess. And so there's a 1/2 inch difference in size between the outie and the innie, so you can't actually put them inside each other and just cut it out. So you need more fabric than you think you need, and also the fabric that goes around here takes quite a bit of fabric and whatever. So I just used 3 colors of fleece on this one. On the ones I made for my nephew, which you saw in the beauty shots, are flannel front and fleece back and fleece sides. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need to do is draw a square for the pattern. I used this record because it met my needs of a 12.5 by 12.5 square, because I want the finished product to be a 12 by 12 square, and I'll be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which I think is fine. You can kind of see the line that I've made with that. But the next thing you're going to need is a circle like this. I made this by tracing this duct tape roll onto a circle and then just adding about a centimeter-ish down from the edge and straight lines from the end. Now you're going to need to measure in the middle. For the middle of 12.5 inches, that would be 6 1/4 inch. So that's right here. And since I put a mark on there for the middle, you just go like this. And I trace that. And then, because my seam allowance is a 1/4 inch, and that's the final size that I want everything to be, I draw in about a 1/4 inch. I just eyeball it all. But you can measure it if you want. Again, you measure 6 1/4 inches in, because that's the center. Place that around, and then about a 1/4 inch from the outside. And then you cut it out. You don't want to cut, well, this seam, it doesn't matter if you cut it, but you don't want to cut this here. And you don't want to cut this inner one, and don't cut that. I apologize for any lighting changes here. My camera battery almost died on me, and I needed to go charge that. So now I have the pattern piece cut out, and we're going to want to trace around the pattern piece. I'm just using a permanent marker because hopefully it shows up on the camera. And that is what the pattern looks like when it is traced on the fabric. Now you're going to want to take your fabric scissors and cut it out. What I'm going to do instead of tracing out the pattern piece, again, is I'm going to lay the fabric on top. Like, make sure that when you put the two fabrics together, you put the nice sides together. Let's cut that out now. Okay, so the next step is to cut out the edging of the puzzle piece. For that, you will want a strip that is approximately 4 inches wide, 5 inches wide. It's totally up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one strip. This is one piece folded into quarters. I'm going to cut one strip, and then I'm going to move it over and cut the same strip. Ideally, I'd be using a rotary cutter for this and a plastic ruler that you can see through, but because I am a poor university student and recently moved out of my parents' house, I no longer have those in easy accessibility to me because they are my mom's and not mine. Did ask for them for Christmas though. So what I'm gonna do is at about, that's like 4 inches, I'd say, and I'm just gonna cut straight across. I'm gonna cut 2 of these. I won't need 2 of these for the puzzle piece all the way around, but 1 will not be enough. Now you're gonna want to sew the 2 end pieces, or how many edge pieces you're gonna want together. Make sure you have the good size facing each other, and you can use pins if you want, and you're gonna want to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, if you ask me, this is the most frustrating part of the whole process because I hate pinning. I just hate it, and I'd rather not do it, but you are going to mess up if you do not pin this project. So you're going to start with thinking which direction you're going to be sewing this project in. And since you want it to be on the right side of the foot, the seam, so this side, and you're going to be threading it going into the machine like that, you want to start by pinning the fabric going this direction. You want to pin this right to the end. When you pin on the corner, you want to pin fairly close. Not too close because you have to pivot the corner. You want to pin fairly shallowly as well because you're going to need to pivot the fabric. And then you're going to want to make a pin here. And again, not too close to the corner, and a pin here. The curves are a pain, but you're just going to need to keep on pinning because otherwise you will have a messed up seam. Okay, so when you get to this point, you're not going to put in the last pin on this. What you're going to do is you're going to take the scissors, and without cutting that pin that's there because that's bad for your shears, you are just going to cut that off to be even with the edge of your fabric, and you're going to leave that floppy because you're going to need to sew this edge. So let's move to the sewing machine. A couple tips here is that you're going to want to go slow. Don't sew over pins, and I don't have a walking foot, but if I had a walking foot, I'd be using it for the fleece because fleece tends to buckle a little bit on corners and such. Like I said, when you get to the corner, just sew about 1/4 inch away from the edge and put your needle down and pivot like you would on any corner. And be careful to go slow at the corners so that you do not bunch up the fleece. I'm going to stop, make sure your needle's down. Get the fabric out of the way, pivot it, put your foot back down, and sew slowly and kind of pull back your fabric so you can see the edge. When you get to where you sew two pieces of fleece together, or if you had to sew two pieces of fleece together, what you're going to want to do is just spread out your seam. It should lay pretty flat because fleece is pretty malleable, and if it doesn't, you can just always lift up the foot and kind of use your finger to get it underneath there. Not when the needle's moving, obviously. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold back the original edge that you sewed, and you are going to sew as close as you can to it with this last edge that you were sewing. Now you've got it all sewn together, and now you need to sew that on there. This is, again, not my favorite part of the project. I frankly do, like I said, dislike pinning. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a corner, and you're going to pull the corner straight up and find where it lines up. And you are going to pin that corner on first. So when you're doing this, you're going to be wanting to sew with the edge out again, just because it's a straight line that needs a little more manipulation than this fabric. So when you sew, you're actually going to be going in the opposite direction this time. Now, if you can see, the seam is right here as to where I sewed the two yellow pieces together. And so therefore, this will be actually the side that I'm starting on, which means I can pin all the way to the edge. Well, we're going to go back to this other straight edge, and this is the edge that I started with last time, and therefore we'll be ending with this time, and I'm just going to put one more in the middle. Now I've got them all pinned on there, and we're going to go back to the sewing machine. Same thing, you line it up on the corner. And we're getting to the end, and you just hold it there, and you're going to sew as close as you can without actually sewing onto the other yellow. There. And we are done with the sewing machine. Woo! Yay! Now we have a completed puzzle piece that all we have to do is turn right side out. So there's a decent size hole here. Kind of like stick your fingers in it and pull. I don't find with fleece, since it's so like forgiving and stuff, you don't really need to stick a thing in there. You can just kind of like a crochet hook is usually what I use to like poke out corners, but with this you can just kind of rub them between your fingers and they poke out just fine. Another thing you could do, if I'd probably do this if I was using just flannel or just quilter's cotton, I would probably poke out the corners and also trim the edges and make like triangles inside of here. But because it's fleece, it's just so malleable, and so you don't really need to. But it's definitely something you can do if you want to. So now you have a fully right side puzzle piece pillow that you just need to stuff. And you just stuff in the fiberfill. So this project takes a lot of fiberfill, and you're going to want to put in a lot of fiberfill because you want them to be pretty firm. So I'm going to put in a little more fiberfill. So that's pretty good. It's firm. You're kind of get out all the lumps by squeezing it. And now you're going to want to take a needle and thread, and I just use an embroidery thread. I'm using white just because it's what I have on hand. Of course, you could use embroidery thread that matches. So when you start, you see there, you're going to want to come in like right here, right there. You're going to want to come up. You pull through, and when you take it, you're gonna want to like bend in the sides, which is a little bit of seam allowance that is there, and you're gonna come in and you're gonna take where it's bent, and you're just gonna kind of go down. I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but hopefully you get what I mean. I'm almost at the end, and I flipped the pillow around, and I'm just gonna continue with it all the way up to the edge until I am done. And oh, don't pull too tight. Pull it apart. And then I'm going to want to do one more tiny stitch here, and we're going to use that there to tie off, and then make a loop through there, and then a loop through there, and pull her tight. And then that's a loop through there. Oh, and then you're going to want to go through this loop and pull it tight. And then kind of hide that by sticking your needle in through the seam, up through the seam over here. Get it close as you can, and then you pull that and you pull it as tight as you can. Kind of hide that knot, and you see you don't see those stitches that much. And then you can just pull it a little tighter and then snip it, and then if you loosen it, and you don't actually see that ends either, and they're hidden inside. There you go. You have a orange, yellow, and navy blue puzzle piece pillow. All you need is 5 pattern pieces. So this is a pattern piece you need. Well, this pattern piece is just this pattern piece mirrored. So you can just use the back of this pattern piece. So you just flip that pattern piece over to get these pattern pieces, and you need 2 of these, 2 of these. And then this pattern is the same. You can just like rotate it 180 degrees to just look exactly like that one. And this one are exactly the same, and this one's different. So we only need 4, only these 4 pattern pieces. So you need a pattern piece that looks like, sorry, they're very rolly, one that looks like that. This is the corner pattern piece that we learned how to draft in this video. And this is the center one, if we can see that. So it has 2 ins and 2 outs. This is the hardest one to sew, but it's not the end of the world. And then we have the 2 outs and the 1 in. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. If you did, please like this video and share it, and leave a comment below as to what your favorite puzzle piece is. Mine is the corner pieces, because there's 4 of them, and 4 is the best number in the whole entire world. So corner pieces are my favorite pieces on the puzzle. So let me know if you like edges, corners, middle pieces, you know, in the comments. And have a nice day. Bye.